Tell us about your club.
Okay, we in 1983, myself and Rita and a few other interested people, we started the Palmernock Driving Club up in Stony Brook, New York, and it was an offshoot of the Islip Horsemen's Association. And then we formed our own club, and now we have about 100 members here on Long Island. And we're here in Connecticut River State Park, which is the home of the Southside Sportsman's Club. And back in the 1800s, all the captains of industry came here and coached and drove their horses through these same trails. So there's a lot of history here. Our club encompasses miniature horses, draft horses, quarter horses, just about any breed you can imagine. And we have a lot of fun. It's a family-oriented club. We have members from 6 or 8 years old up to their 80s. And everybody can enjoy the driving.
It's quite a range of ages, 6 years old to 80,
oh,
plus
yeah.
quite a range of horses. We saw a little mini to the big draft.
Right.
Now this used to be the standard mode of transportation, and now it's, before cars, obviously, this is how people got around, but now it's more of a recreation sport. Is that what you were referring to?
Driving is really making a resurgence since the 1970s and 80s. And the type of driving we're doing is just recreational, fun driving.
What kind of a relationship do you have to have with your horses? You have something to say about this? He's like, yeah, I'll tell you about the relationship. What kind of relationship do you have to have with your horses in order to communicate with them and driving such as
well,
this?
Well, in driving, you're not on the horse, so your only communication with them is your voice, your reins, and the whip. Right. The whip takes the place of your legs. Your voice, they get very attuned to your voice, and we have a lot of verbal commands. I can tell them to walk on. Before I ask them to do anything, I always say their names. This pair here.
Yeah, tell us who these guys
are. Get Shorty and Maxwell Smart. And they're Morgans, and they're a pair that came from Minnesota, and they're half brothers, and they're 10 and 11 years old. And they're a great pair of horses. We have a lot of fun with them. Rita's holding the reins right now.
Rita
that's
back there.
my wife, Rita.
Hi, Rita.
And that's Nina Conroy in the carriage, and Tom Conroy is assisting us. And
tell us the difference between having, like here you have two horses, and then we also seen a lot with one horse. What's the difference? Is one better than the other?
Well, this is driving a pair. And then sometimes we drive four in hand, which is another pair in front of these two. But in driving a pair, of course, you have twice as much horsepower. This is an antique carriage that was made in Paris in 1906. And it was found on the Whitney estate in Manhasset. So it's got a Long Island history, the J.V. Whitney estate. And back in the 80s, when Mrs. Whitney celebrated her 90th birthday, she rode in this carriage at the Saratoga Racecourse. So we purchased it at an auction and refurbished it, and got it in the condition we can drive the pair or the four with it.
Now, how much training does it take? Let's say the horses. I mean, how long did it take you to train these guys on how to drive?
Well, I acquired this pair already trained, but if you're starting a horse from scratch, you have to start out with groundwork, teach them to lunge and then long line, walk behind them, and the most important gait for a driving horse is stand or whoa. So you want to establish that from the ground before you ever get them near a carriage.
I would say that's probably the most important, even if you're riding a horse.
That's the most important gait, no matter what you're doing, is whoa.
Yeah, whoa, you got to know how to stop.
Every piece of the harness has a job to do. You always notice that driving bridles have the winkers on the side, and that's to focus the horses forward so they're not distracted by cars passing them and things like that. Part of it acts as the braking system, part of it acts as a pulling system. The full collars that are around their neck distribute the weight on the flat part of their shoulders, so it makes it more comfortable.
I was going to say, there's a lot of stuff on the horses. You see all the equipment on the horses. Is it comfortable for them? Does it hurt them?
Yeah.
Does it hurt them in any way? Is this too much? Is it too much for them to pull?
No, a carriage like this weighs probably about 550 pounds, and then by the time we put every 6 people in it, they can trot with this carriage on flat ground for 7 or 8 miles, no problem.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, there's also as you as the driver and the people in, don't you have to balance it? It's not like that. It's not like you're sitting back saying, "Hey, I'm going for a little ride." Don't you have to do a little bit of work as well?
With a four-wheel carriage like this, you don't have to worry about balancing. If you're driving a two-wheel carriage, it's very important that the carriage is fit to the size of the horse. Because if you have too big a carriage on too small a horse, it's going to be going downhill and put a lot of weight on the horse's back, and vice versa. If you have too small a carriage, the carriage is going to be tilting upward, and it's going to put pressure on the horse's belly. So on a two-wheel carriage, it's very important that it's balanced. On a four-wheel carriage, they're not carrying any of the weight.
Gotcha.
So it's not as important.
And all different size horses, from the little guys to the big guys.
Oh, yeah.
And does it matter? I mean, can any horse do it, or is it just specifically draft horses?
The most important aspect of a driving horse is that they have to have a good mind and not have the fleeing mechanism. Thoroughbreds, although some people do drive thoroughbreds, they're a galloping breed, so they tend to want to gallop where they want to go. Where a Morgan was basically bred to be a trotting breed, or standard breds or whatever. And a lot of warm bloods also do very well in driving. And the miniature horses are incredibly strong for their size.
For their size, sure.
Yeah, a pair of miniature horses can easily take somebody my size and another full-size adult for a drive all day long.
Jerry, well, thanks so much for letting us come down and visit and have a lot of fun today.
Thank you so much for coming and visiting us.
You bet. How can people get a hold of you?
You can go to the Palmernock Driving Club's website.
We'll put that up on the screen, yeah.
Or you can visit my website, which is shadbellyfarm.com, and you can see pictures of the four horses and some other different carriages and harness, and hopefully, and then all the phone numbers and contacts are on there.
Okay, great, Jerry. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. If you have any questions or comments about our show, you can certainly email us at talkinghorses@optonline.net. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.